Well, here's my fun fact. I just gave it.
Fun fact.
Yeah, I just gave it to them, and I bet more people know this. Do you know why they call it uppercase and lowercase?
No.
So, like in the days of the printing press, they would open up all the letters, and the larger letters were on the upper case. So it's actually, when we talk about uppercase and lowercase, it's actually physically on the upper part of the case, and they would close it and lock it, and then put it away when they were done with the printing press. So
now you know.
And the more you know.
Reading rainbow.
We view ourselves in partnership with our customers. We're successful when you're all successful. Our job is to basically build technology that all of our customers can benefit from.
I'm Chris McDonald.
I'm Matt Avery.
And we're going to talk about the check-in
app. Why you should use check-in app, why it will increase the experience for your participants at your events, why it will make your life easier, and
volunteers' life easier,
you money, and more.
And everything. Like, it's the best.
If
you've ever heard me talk, it's my favorite tool out of all the RunSignup tools. It's free as well, so that's a huge benefit. But long ago, the process was you would shut down registration like midnight on Wednesday, and you would pull all the data down. As the race director, you would clean it, you would email it to your timer. They would do stuff to it, put in some bib numbers, put it in their scoring platform, put out some labels, and then somebody would label on Thursday, and then you would prep for packet pickup on Friday, and just 2 whole days of nothing registering people. And you crimp the fire hose of registration, and so the moment packet pickup opens, everybody would always say, oh, we have so many people that want to register at packet pickup, and then they would open the fire hose and everybody would show up, and there would be long lines. It was like, if you had never shut down registration and just let it come through, no big deal. Well, the check-in app allows that because it syncs directly through from RunSignup's registration. So I think that's number one on like the big help. Like somebody could register 30 seconds later and then check-in app.
Yeah, totally. And like just being able to leave that registration period open makes such a huge difference. Like you said, like those are days that you lost collecting revenue. Because you can leave that open to the very last moment now. And maybe you do have a system where you need to assign the bibs in advance. But you can still do that and use the check-in app in a way to be able to look up participants and get them the right t-shirt sizes, or to do verification on site or whatever.
Triathlons, like pool swim triathlons are a great example of that, where a lot of people will seed people by a custom question, like what is your estimated 100-meter swim time? And so the timer will pull that down and seed people based on fastest to slowest or divisions or something like that. And then they'll have an automated, after they push that up, everybody else will be on the automated like assigned bib numbers of time of registration. And so those bib numbers are assigned, but if you weren't using that, and somebody registered, your piece of paper that you printed out is aged. So they're not going to be on there. So it's super helpful to have that continuously updated.
And you remember like back in the day when, I remember where I used to work a big turkey trot, and we'd have, for my town, 5,000 people was a lot.
That's a huge turkey trot.
And having to do packet pickup for that, we did it at 2 different store locations, and people picked, which location they wanted their packet to go to. And so we would have to figure out and divvy out, like, the week before or whenever it was, what shirts go where, and like the lists have to be up to date. And at the end of every day, we do a download, compare the registration date and time stamps, make sure we get just the new ones that came in, add them to the list, print them out, get them to the other store.
And they're probably alpha lists as well, so the lists are always
all over the place. And we'd have, boxes and boxes of bibs just taking up the whole back of the store.
Pre-assigned bibs, I bet.
Pre-assigned bibs. So by the end of the packet pickup, or even midway through is probably the worst, you have these little dividers between every 100 bibs, just tipped over and bibs stuck and crumpled down there. It's just a mess.
Well, and with pre-assigned bibs, 5,000 people, you have like a 12 to 15% no-show rate. So you're basically saying 600 bibs that are chipped are being thrown away.
And how much do those chips cost?
Anywhere from, I think some of the people that are buying them straight from distributors might be in 20 cent, 25 cent, and some that are pre-encoded are, up to $1. So I mean, it'd be up, $500, $600 worth of bibs and chips you're throwing away at the end of it.
Yeah, it's not a drop in the bucket.
No, it's not. It's real money. And so being able to dynamically assign with QR code, barcode, or even typing it in on the check-in app is a huge money saver. And I know a lot of the timers know this, but a lot of the race directors aren't seeing that because they're not thinking through like, oh, well, this is the piece that I might not see every day, but it's the money coming out of our budget. And, $600 is an intermediate sponsor for maybe not for a 5,000 person turkey trot, but for a 200-300 person race, a $500 sponsor is a decent sponsor. So it's real money, and it really does hit the bottom line. But another thing is, you start talking about resources, the ability to go back and turn around after the fact and run the reports as to who checked in when. You can start figuring out when you need more volunteers where, and adequately putting your resources, your staffing resources where you need them.
Yeah.
And granted, every year's not going to be the same because maybe it rains in the middle of the day one year or something like that. But on average, it's going to be pretty darn close.
Yeah, we pulled that data, and we did do that. We did see that on Thanksgiving week, it was 3 days out was most popular or something. I don't know if that's accurate, but it was one day was way more popular than others. And so we staffed the stores to accommodate that wave the following year, and it worked out really well.
Right.
And the cool thing is once we did move to dynamic bib assignment, you suddenly have this really easy way to scale up at a moment's notice. So before, you have you
had to have a line for each.
Yeah, well, you got two lists with all of the people in them, and you got half of them crossed off or whatever. And if there's a line of people, it's a single point of entry.
Right.
So that you got to process them one by one, and you can't jump line and get other people's info because you got to look through the same list.
Right.
Or maybe you did have it broken out by alphabetical, this group of the alphabet, first third of the alphabet, second third.
Right. But if a whole family shows up at once, you're gonna have lines that don't have anybody, and then all the Smiths show up, and you're gonna have 40 people in one line, overwhelming one person, and they can't do anything about it.
Yeah, but with a check-in app now, it was just everybody on staff's got a phone,
right?
And we all just loaded up the app in advance. It's always up to date and syncing in the background. So if there's a sudden surge at lunch hour, we would just hop out or pull out our phones, start checking people in, grabbing them a bib off the table, writing their name on it, saying you're all set, and to grab your shirt on the way out.
Yep, and you can edit things too, which is nice, and you can create different presets, configurations, so you can mandate that you use, bibs for the 5K and skip the bibs for the fun run, or the bib numbers, that is. And so it really helps out with just managing individual events. You can have a configuration for volunteers versus staff. So volunteers might not be able to change anything. Staff can change everything. So you can really get granular with how you set things up.
What we like to do is have a configuration. You can think of it kind of like a profile. You have your volunteer profile, you have your volunteer coordinator profile, maybe.
Right.
So we would typically have a power user volunteer.
Right.
And they'd be the point of contact if the volunteers have a question or they needed to investigate something. They might not have been provided the full access to the data because we didn't feel comfortable about volunteers whoever coming in having access to all this data about a person. So we'd have a point of contact who's trusted. Basically, they would raise up issues to them if they had a problem they need to look into. So they would have more access to view data date of birth, and they'd have access to be able to.
We did that with medical.
Right into medical's a good example.
Yeah, we had a separate configuration for medical. So if somebody the medical team on site, they were on bikes or whatever, golf carts, they could scan somebody's bib, get all of their e-contact info, boom, done. So it's an interesting tool that can be used in a lot of different ways.
So many different ways. And we've made it so flexible over the past couple of years that, you can use this for so many things we haven't even thought about yet.
Yep.
I'm sure.
I'm sure a number of members are.
What about you heard about the donut run, right?
I don't know if I did.
So the donut run, do you know the concept?
Yeah.
You know the concept.
Yeah.
So the whole thing with the donut run is it's like a course. Let's say it's a mile course or something like that, and there's a donut station, and they're doing laps. So every mile they have to eat donuts at the halfway point.
I feel like I could do well at this event.
Yeah, very. And so I would do well in the sense I would eat a lot of donuts, but
the running part.
I don't know. But basically, they get a credit for however many donuts they eat.
So they were updating it on the app?
Yeah. So
I dig.
So they have a field tracking how many donuts they have eaten, And it's always controversial about what the proper way to is it eat
Consumed.
They consumed 12 donuts.
Enveloped.
So because of that data available on RunSignup, it gets updated in real time. So they have volunteers at the check station looking participants up by their QR code on their bib as they're coming through the station.
Right.
And saying this person, ate 3 more, so now they're at 10 or they're at whatever. And then that data goes down over to the scoring software, and they can actually build a custom field that is like a calculation of donuts times milliseconds.
Yeah, it's 10 seconds off per donut.
Or whatever it is. And then they can automatically build out this crazy custom scoring system based off of eating donuts, which is the dream.
So in thinking about that, we use the reporting functions. I know you said you were able to scale up. I actually was working for an event it was a smaller event that had packet pickup on Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
They were like, oh yeah, everybody comes on Thursday. I was like, really? How many people? They were like 50%. I was like, okay. So we used the check-in app one year for them finally. And I was like, how many people do you think came on Thursday? And they were like 50% like always. They had 2 volunteers there for 8 hours, both of them for 8 hours. So 16 volunteer hours.
Yeah.
And they had 8 people check in. And I was like, hey guys, let's trim this down. And so now they were able to reabsorb those those 16 volunteer hours and use them elsewhere. So it really helped, again, like the resources of the event. So,
Totally, yeah.
So you get help with resources, scoring, bib management, participant management, like just keeping everything streamlined. It's a really, really cool tool. So before we forget, hit like, subscribe, and comment on how you like the check-in app.
Yeah.
Or the weirdest way you've used it, the coolest way you've used it. We'd love to hear from you, whatever.
Talk to you later.